We're going to do it a little differently in today's episode. We're going to talk, oh yeah, and why am I driving and talking at the same time? Well, you may notice that my eye contact isn't that awesome with you guys today. There is a purpose for that. I've got the phone is on my visor, kind of looking down because I like the angle of not being able to see two chins. But I also like the idea of being able to multitask. I'm on a 40-minute drive, and I wanted to take the 5 or 6 minutes to chat with you guys a little bit. And every day is a race against time for me, so today we're going to multitask, and I'm going to use my drive time so that I can still focus on the road, but I got the camera focused in such a way that this will work. So I want to talk about the idea of abundance versus scarcity and some of my observations of the wedding industry, some of which include my colleagues, some of which include my competitors. But I want to talk to you about this concept because I feel like it's super important. There's really two schools of thought when it comes to business acquisition. There is a prevailing thought that there is a certain amount of scarcity. And what that means is, okay, I'm a DJ. If one of my colleagues, let's say Mr. Nate Nelson from LaForce Entertainment, let's say he and I are competing for a particular piece of business. The idea of scarcity says that one of the two of us is going to end up with it and one of the two of us is going to end up unbooked. So what that means is we need to go at each other, we need to compete, I need to say why I'm better than him, he'll need to say why he's better than me. And here the reality is there's certain things that each of us have strengths in that the other ones do not. Now we both work at our craft. Nate is a very skilled DJ. He practices his MC skills. He definitely practices mixing skills. This is a guy who's skilled. So we're going to go toe-to-toe. We're going to go toe-to-toe on pricing. We're going to go toe-to-toe on options. We're going to go toe-to-toe on the entire experience for the couple. So scarcity means we're going to go at each other. We're going to fight up for this piece of business. And by God, I better get it because I certainly don't want him getting that piece of business. That to me is the prevailing thought when it comes to business acquisition. And my philosophy is what I call an abundance mindset. So the abundance mindset says that yes, Nate and I are actually competing for this particular piece of business, but I want to very pragmatically and using self-awareness, I want to evaluate that client and I want to figure out if I'm the best fit for that client or Nate's the best fit for that client. And it doesn't matter what Nate's perspective is on that, it matters what my perspective is on that. So it doesn't mean that I'm going to necessarily win this piece of business. If I think I'm the best guy, it doesn't necessarily mean I'm walking away with a contract, okay? He may do a better job. The client is really the end when it comes to decision-making process and where this piece of business ends up. But if I feel that I'm the best fit for this, then I'll present it in such a way that I feel that I'm the best fit for it, with the understanding that if I'm not the best fit for this, I'm actually going to direct the client his direction. And that sounds very counterintuitive. It sounds very counterproductive. But here's what I've noticed is that by heaping praise, I am actually right now in the video heaping praise on one of my biggest competitors. But he's not a competitor. He's a colleague. He's a friend. He's very accomplished. He's very good at what he does. And there's a certain type of wedding, in my perception, that if this is what I'm getting from the client, I'm actually going to direct it his direction and not mine. Now, if the client says, no, we really like what we're hearing and they want to book me, as long as I feel like they're a good fit for me, I will book the wedding. But I have been known to direct clients to other DJs even when I'm not booked for that date yet. The idea of abundance, let's step back and let's evaluate how many weddings are in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex a year. I haven't pulled the stats in about 5 years. There used to be there's a company called the Wedding Report, and they put out a number of stats. Now, bear in mind, we've had a lot of people move in the metroplex in the last half decade. So these numbers are lower than the reality of what we're dealing with right now. But using numbers from about 5 years ago, there were roughly about 50,000 weddings in the Dallas-Fort Worth metroplex in 1 year. Okay, 50,000 weddings. So let's take, for instance, you can't assume that all 100% of those weddings are the kind of wedding that would want to book a DJ. So let's say the top 20% want to book bands, or they're going to get married, on a beach in Antigua or something. They're going to go somewhere else, or they're going to be so high and so off the charts that DJs are not really in their wheelhouse. So let's take 20% of those away. All right, so let's go on the flip side. Let's say that You know, you're going to have justice of the peace weddings. You're going to have low budget weddings. You're going to have weddings that are, you know, backyard weddings. There's nothing wrong with those kind of weddings. That makes the world go round. But let's say, for instance, that makes up 70% of the weddings. So you drop the bottom 70% of weddings and you drop the 20% top of weddings. So now we're left with only 10% of the weddings that exist in the entire metroplex that are in that top 30 percentile that would like a nice DJ, that are in the mindset that we need to spend some money on this. So 10%, 5,000 weddings a year. Divide that times 50-ish weeks, you're talking about an average of 100 weddings per week. All right, so LaForce Entertainment, my biggest competitor, they've got about 15, 20 DJs. Let's just say 20 for the sake of argument. All my competitors combined do not equal 100. So what that tells me is there is plenty of business to be working every Saturday if I so desire. The only caveat is if I can find them, okay? So as long as I can find that segment of 10% of the market, of which I just want to carve out a tiny piece, I can work 50 to 75 weddings, hopefully with a lot of momentum and relative ease. Now, once you've established that, like I have, some street cred and some good reviews and, you know, working relationships with planners and venues, then it becomes an almost a monster that feeds on itself, and I'm actually in a situation where I'm booked at capacity and it's not terribly difficult to do so. So what that allows me to do is it allows me the luxury of being able to step back and being self-aware of the actual weddings I take. So I don't take a wedding for the sake of booking a chunk of business and putting money in my bottom line. Now, I'm not ignoring my bottom line. I'm a profit-driven business. I have to put food on the table. I get that. But if I spend more of my focus on getting the right bride and the right couple and the right family and the right situation, guess what? I do a better job and I get a better review and I have people that I'm comfortable with and I interact well with, and you know, that's where another 5-star review comes through. So when I'm able to focus in on that, the rest takes care of itself. So if I concentrate on the abundance versus the specific piece of business. So, and that's also assuming only 10% of the market. I really don't know how much of the market falls in my sweet spot, but I'm operating under the mentality that 10% is what I'm going for in that market. If I can figure out how to reach that 10% of the people out there and kind of ignore the rest. Now, knowing that, I still get inquiries from people from that bottom 70%. I sometimes still get an inquiry from that top 20%. And we establish pretty quickly that I'm not the right fit. Either they hear my price and they go running for the hills, or they just go, you know what, we're looking at a band, we're probably going to go that direction. There's no need to take offense to that. That's good. That 10% range represents a range that I could create so much abundance that I would never be able to handle all that business. Like 10% of the market. So as long as I'm acutely aware of what that 10% personality is like, what their likes are, what their dislikes are, I spend a lot of time trying to get in the heads of people that are between the ages, say 27 and 45. And as long as I can kind of zero in on that, that's how I gear my marketing. My message, the things that I do are geared for that and in the budget for that. So I understand that I am not the DJ for everyone, and that actually makes me better suited to do a better job for the people that I do reach. So let's recap here. Scarcity just talks about the top down versus the numbers, and I need to go get my 50 to 75 events, and I'm going to go get them, and I'm going to compete with whoever I got to compete with to book them. Abundance says there already is a pool of candidates out there bigger than I would ever be able to handle, and so it's my job to go out and find the ones that are the best fit. Because there's so many of them, we're going to find the ones that are the best fit for me. And in the process, if I can accommodate some of my colleagues in competition, I'm actually going to find the best fit for some of them. Where that comes into play and where that comes back to me in sort of a reciprocal manner is that I get referrals from other DJs. And that seems crazy to think about, but there are other DJs that understand my style and they understand the kind of client that works very well with me, and they will actually send business my way. So understanding that actually, you know, if you can step back and you can be self-aware of the kind of business you are and you can actually help other vendors, it may not come back, but many times it does. So that's where we're going with that today. So that's our education session for today. I hope you got something out of that. Enjoying a little time on the road here. Every day is usually a race against time, so it's kind of good to just hit the road here and kind of talk about that. But here's the deal. I think I put it enough in my post, but I'm going to go ahead and recap. Tuesdays are for this educational industry type stuff. Wednesday is sort of my reality show, a day in the life of a DJ, which encompasses, actually DJing, going to client meetings, doing all the things that we do here. Thursdays are music mixes. So we're putting out a ton of content. So I would love it if you'd subscribe. I'm trying to get lots of subscribers. I got a lot of momentum from the first 26 episodes. We did episode 27 of my vlog last week. Let's just keep that momentum going. So subscribe and let's stay in touch. And if there's something you want to know, if you've got a question, hit me up in the comments. I would love to talk to you and maybe do an episode on anything that you might have as far as an issue in the industry. But have a great day, and we'll talk to you next week.